Boom, we're live. My name is Patrick P.D. Delgado, the creator of the SPEAR and the CMARSPP'S life principles. My co-host is my best friend, Kenny Candia, the ambassador of the SPEAR and the CMARSPP'S life principles.
SPEAR is spelled SPPRR, which is an abbreviation for the 5 components of your life and how to manage each one individually. The first letter is S, and that's for spiritual. Next is P, and that's for physical. The next P is for psychological. R is for relationships, and the last R is for resources.
The premise of the podcast is education and fulfillment in each of those 5 components. The problem is there's a lot of misinformation regarding long-term success in any of those given components of your life. Applying the principles of your life SPEAR is the antidote to not knowing where to find long-term fulfillment. Remember, success is dependent upon the application of the information.
And because the principles that are taught here are unique every single week, this can't be found or duplicated anywhere else. So make sure to follow the weekly podcast and leave us a review and give us a comment. Welcome to your Life SPEAR podcast, episode 11. Today is Friday, December 8th, 2023. And we are in our 6th principle of CMARSPP'S, which is the principle of planned. So if you want to dive a little bit deeper into plan, sounds just like it, or plan is just like how it sounds. Planned. So if you ever want to go plan your day, you plan your day. Well, oh, cool, what I'm going to do for today. You're going to go plan how I'm going to succeed or improve in my spiritual realm. Where do you start? And Patrick always like to say, fail to plan to
Exactly. Exactly.
So as far as like spiritual component, I just want to start off with a personal experience. There was one point, so I served a mission, right? And one point where I, just a couple years after I served my mission, fell away from the church, fell away from my religion, and started doing things I shouldn't have been doing, like drinking, smoking, all these different things, and just like trying to party and stuff like that. I acquired some vices that I had to come back from. So I went down that path, went down like a negative path. So coming back to my religion, obviously that stuff's not allowed. If I've served the mission, I have the priesthood, I've been sealed in the temple, I've made covenants that I would live a certain type of lifestyle and all that. I made promises, right? So like when you break those promises, there's a path that you go down to repent, to get back on the right track. So I met with my church leaders, and what we did, I told them everything. We made a plan. We made a plan to get back on track. A plan to get back into the temple, which took a little over a year. Because, okay, cool. Just because I everything up, I'm living a clean, pure life now, doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, good, you're all good to go. It takes time. It takes time to get back on that clean and pure path. You have to prove to God that you'll get back on it and stay on it. So typically the Lord, he wants you to be on it for about a year, make sure that you're serious. So that's something I was able to do. Me and my wife were able to stay on that track for a year, get back to the temple. Same with Patrick and his wife.
That's how we met.
Yeah, exactly. So we're able to get back to the temple with each other and help each other get back on that path. And yeah, it all started with a plan. So that plan right there helped me get spiritually connected to God again. Even like going on a mission, the plan to get back or to get on the track to go on a mission. Now I have a plan to get better spiritually. And one of them was like getting to the temple, make sure I'm doing my dailies, weeklies, monthlies, and continue to go to the temple and continue to grow spiritually. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. So that's my personal plan spiritually. And it goes into a little more detail, but just overall, that's what a plan is. And that's for me spiritually.
Yeah. I like that, Kenny. So here's a question though. So when you have a plan and everything falls apart, or in other words, you get hit in the mouth, then what happens? What happens with your plan?
It's still there.
So my next saying is keep your goals in stone, plans in sand. So your plans are always going to change. That you need to be able to adapt, adaptation, homeostasis. You have to adapt to the new given environment. It's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the species that adapts quickest to its new given environment. So if your new environment is different than what you had planned, you better come up with some new plans, right? So you have to be adaptable, and that's the fluidity. So some years back, I had the opportunity to help mentor a veteran from this last war, Corporal McAnally. So I started learning more about the military, specifically in the Marines, the Marine Corps. And so I had the opportunity to study some of it's about the war, and it's pretty in depth. It's called war fighting. So I got some of the cliff notes I just wanted to read over, because what I learned is that it's not only applicable in wars, but it's applicable in life. So where it says war, I'll replace life. So no one event in life can be isolated. It has been shaped by all of the previous events. Thus, life providing fleeting opportunities and surprises. Flexibility is required to adapt to a constantly changing situation. We must also be proactive and shape events to our advantage. Life ebbs and flows like the tides. A high operational tempo cannot be supported forever. Formations will mass to attack the enemy, then disperse. So you can think about that spiritually. You can think about whatever it is you're trying to attack in life. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have some minor setbacks. And the question is, how are you going to respond to those setbacks? And how quickly are you going to be able to come up with a new plan? And so I wanted to point out the fluidity, the component of a plan. Of sometimes some of the best things that you are able to produce are from your intuitive thinking. When you're not thinking, when you're not necessarily planning, sometimes some things can be created. A good example would be this podcast. We don't necessarily have an exact format of how the podcast goes. It's just part of our conversation, right?
I mean, yeah, we have a plan though on how we want to release it. We do have a plan. We are prepared. But when it comes to flowing it just comes from in intuition. But before, we obviously do have a plan. We're not just sitting here and just joking around. All this stuff in front of us right now, all these notes and everything, it's a plan. It's a plan, right? So there's always a plan. We don't plan.
It's planned chaos right here on, on this
totally,
desk.
100%. Yeah, man. You jump into the physical part of being her planning. So for instance, like I'm competing in April. So what is my plan to compete? Cool. I need to compete. I need to get a coach because I don't know a thing about
competing, meaning bodybuilding is what he's talking about.
Competing in bodybuilding.
He's not competing in chess. No.
Nah, I'm pretty good at chess too.
What?
Yeah. I'm all right. I'm not. What is my plan to compete? I can't just, all right, cool, I'm going to compete. If there's no plan, I'm going to fail. Guaranteed. So I got to get a coach. I got to make sure my macros are on point. I got to make sure I'm following everything exactly. But that's the thing I love about getting a coach is I literally just stick to the plan that I bought. I pay for my coach. A sacrifice. So he sheds me my plan and I follow it. That's all I got to do. So the plan, but imagine if I got a coach and no plan, I just go try to compete or something like that. I'm going to lose. I'm going to fail. I'm going to be downstate. To be honest, I probably wouldn't even compete. Before, actually, I was trying to compete, but I didn't end up going through. And then again, COVID happened and stuff, so everything got shut down. So I'm all right. But yeah, anyways. So
but you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. And it actually took me a while to actually even want to get down this route. It took me like over a year to actually I'll try. But so physically for me, that's a plan that I have physically right now. Plan's probably going to change too after I compete. What are my plans going to be? I don't know. But who cares? I'm just going to get.
Yeah. I like it. I like that. Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that, bro. So, no, I wanted to talk about I have the issue of over planning a lot of times. And so that's why one of the focuses I wanted to be on today was on planning, was the keeping it fluid, So you have a background, speaking of your physical background, Kenny, you have a background in what kind of discipline?
Taekwondo.
Taekwondo. Oh, yeah. So Taekwondo. So black belt right here. So what did Bruce Lee do? What kind of kung fu? So one of his lines, his quotes I love is "Be like water."
Oh man. Oh yeah.
Be like water, right?
That's the hardest thing. Easier to say.
Why? Why?
Be like water, dude. Like it takes so much technique. Like water is just so malleable. You pour water anywhere and it just flows. Flow, we're gonna have technique.
Yeah.
Yeah. But technique doesn't come. It comes with time, comes with practice, comes discipline, all that stuff.
Yeah, water doesn't react. It responds.
It's something like that, yeah.
It's like us. We're supposed to respond rather than react. So that's planning. Fail to plan to fail and keep your goals in stone and plans in sand.
It's pretty interesting. Goals in stone, plans in sand. I like that because it's earlier when you're like, oh, what happens if you're everything went to crap. What happens to your plan? I was like the same. Like, nah, it changes. You call it audible, man.
Yeah.
That's so true, man. Because like, even if I came out here in my business, I transitioned from California to Utah. I had a plan. Dude, that crap did not work out, man, at all. So I'm like, all right, cool. But the thing is, I'm so coachable, I'm changeable. Everything changed, and I just called multiple audibles. So an audible is what a quarterback does when he's at the scrimmage line.
Yeah.
Okay, they changed the play right in the middle of Forbes saying hike. He 42, no, red 23, red, and then the formation changes, and then like, the plans change for that play, throws everybody off. That's what I had to do on multiple occasions. So I think the biggest, like, prominent one is the one I had to keep changing my plans in my business, but the goal's still the same. Goals in stone, goals in stone.
Plans in sand, bro. Yeah. So
like
it's
that.
adaptation.
Yep.
I like someone, who was it? Mike Tyson said, when everyone's got a plan until they get hit in the mouth, right? Which is true, right? So that's what it is. Once you two get hit in the mouth, then what do you do? See, it's a good quote, but then you got to finish it. No one knows. You do get hit in the mouth, then you got to roll with it. So maybe he gets grappled or something. Someone puts him in a chokehold. I don't know. Anyway, so the point is you have to be able to adapt to the new given environment. So that's what we have for planning. So the other thing I wanted to point out for the spiritual component of your life is your patriarchal blessing is a plan. It's a plan for your spiritual plan of your life. So
it's a patriarchal blessing, Patrick.
That's a good question, Kenny.
Not just because we have some listeners.
He's put me on the spot.
So we have
it's a
listeners
patriarch.
That aren't part of our faith, so that's a part of our faith. Specifically.
So a patriarch is someone that holds the priesthood, Melchizedek priesthood, and has been received a calling to receive revelation for an individual in the church and talk and bless, give them a blessing, and they receive a patriarchal blessing. And in the patriarchal blessing, that when they put their hands on their head and they give them that blessing, then they talk about, one of the things they talk about is
who you were, like where you come from.
Yeah, your lineage.
Pretty much who you were, why you're here, and what's going to happen while you're here, and where you're going. That's pretty much what it is in detail. And it lasts 5 to 10 minutes long sometimes.
Yeah.
The cool thing about patriarchal blessings are that they are recorded. So later on, the transcribers, they type it up and you can read it. You'll always be able to read your patriarchal blessing. So like it tells you like where we come from, like in the spirit world, who we are, or who we were, and like who we are, and like different circumstances in life that we're gonna come across. If we're going to have children, or if we're going to go on a mission, or different challenges in life that we're going to have. Just like all those details, all those details is very detailed for you specifically. For some people, you might call it like, it's not this at all. It's totally different, but it's similar to like fortune telling a little bit, but it's not though. It gives you like not a roadmap to your life, but just like the blessings and things that you'll be able to achieve if you stay down a good path.
Yeah, if you stay on the covenant path, if you stay close.
Yeah, exactly.
And you continue.
There'll be a lot of stuff on there. If you start going away from the church, it's not going to happen. If you stay on that covenant path, those blessings will come to pass. I've seen so many things in my life from my patriarchal blessing. It talks about like my wife, my children, my mission, and I was going to go on a mission, and all these things, and all of them happened. All of them happened so far. I'm still like, there's so many things. That's more of a very sacred and personal thing for us. But that right there, it's pretty much, it keeps you on that plan. It's a plan for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing that the patriarchal blessing does, it also sets the tone for your life. So some of the things that the expectations and things to look forward to. So I love my patriarchal blessing. I actually have taken it apart and highlighted certain parts and studied different parts on a daily basis, actually. So your rhythm, your dailies, what it is you're doing on a daily basis, that's where this comes into play, right? If this is part of your plan, these are your dailies, this is how you're keeping a record of what you're accomplishing on a daily basis. That's part of your plan. So make sure you have a plan, but you have to keep that plan malleable, just like your brain.
Oh, yeah. And a part of that plan, getting back on the covenant path, or getting back in the church, was the plan on what I'm going to do to better my marriage. Because my marriage at that point, at one point, was falling apart because all the bad decisions we were making and all that stuff. So this kind of applies to like your relationships sphere. About what is the plan to better your marriage? Let's make a plan together. Okay. Make a plan. What are we going to do for each other? How are we going to communicate with each other? What are the non-negotiables in our relationships? So this is making a plan. Anything good, anything worth fighting for definitely needs a plan to keep it going. And that's something that I was able to do. And since then, my marriage has been great. Obviously, marriages are up and down, and you got to go through stuff all the time in any relationship. But marriage has been, I guess, the start. I say like when me and my wife first got married, we were great, but at the end of the day, we were right here, but now we're like higher on the graph chart. But in between the bottom of the graph chart and the top where we are currently, much up and down, but at the end of the day, we're higher than we were when we were started. And it's going to be like that in the next 10, 20, 30 years. We way higher than where we are right now. We have to stick with that plan. And the agreements that we have made, just if we mess up, just continue to try to get better. No one's perfect.
And then you're also setting the expectations. You're saying that you're saying we're already on this trajectory, so let's continue going on this. You've already set the pace, the rhythm, the tempo, whatever you want to call it.
Oh yeah, for sure. But when you fall off of that pace or that tempo, you feel it. Like it's not going to go unnoticed. Okay, for the past couple of weeks, arguing more. Or for the past few weeks, I've been feeling like it's like I shouldn't be feeling like that. There's something that needs to change. And the open line of communication is literally everything. You have to have communication. If you don't have communication, everything will fall apart.
Yeah.
You can't have a plan without communicating with your spouse or with your friend or with your business partners or with whoever, with God. You can't have a plan without communicating.
Yeah, so the plan, you're using the logical part of your brain, the neocortex. You're getting some dopamine when you're following that plan. So that plan is part of the checklist, whatever you're doing on a daily basis you're going through. But it's also good because, like you said, with your spouse, you can share that with other people. So people know what to expect from yourself, and people know what to expect from you. So have it written down. If you don't write it down, that's probably not important to you. So that's another thing about. So it all falls in line with everything, all the components prior that we've talked about within CMARSPP'S. So sacrifice, recorded. So your plan is also going to be part of what's being recorded on a daily basis. And then accountability is also your plan. If you have like your trainer, you're going to him and you're saying, this is what the plan has been and this is what, so he's doing the accountability and then the measuring and clarity and so on and so forth. So everything all comes together. It's all one great truth.
Yep. Us being here is a part of God's plan. God's planning, we probably should be planning.
Yep.
So I personally just want to end with that. So
yeah, boom. I like it.
We are out. Stay tuned for next week. Next podcast, we're going over our principle of practice, which is the second P in SPPRR. We're getting towards the end. Practice makes perfect. No, perfect practice makes perfect.
Boom.
Yep, we'll get there.
I like